As we get older, we lose a lot of friends in our lives. It's kind of unfortunate because you do wish that you could keep in contact with all your childhood friends, but sometimes just people just move on. But today, guys, I want to talk about something in life where we kind of look back at our childhood friends and just kind of wonder where they went. Like when I was younger, at my early years of childhood, I remember growing up in a small town called Hale at one point in my life. Now, if you guys are familiar with the channel, I did mention about this before, but growing in that town of Hale, Missouri, it's a crazy little small town near like Tina or between Polo and Chillicothe, right? If you guys are from Missouri, you guys would probably have an idea where it's at, but it's so damn small that most people don't know. And I do remember in that small little town, since I was so little, that I did make a lot of friends during that little time there. Like, it was only a 4-year tenure, but I remember having a really cool ass friend that would actually let me borrow his action figures and stuff when we were kids. And he was also a type of friend where he introduced me to games like Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time on the N64, and all those cool ass consoles. Like, even though they were older, it was really neat to see these older games kind of come to life because I was always into the PlayStation 2. But when I saw that my friend had other games that were also really cool at the time, I don't know, man, it just made me want to go back and play some actual Legend of Zelda or something because during that time there too, I did actually get to play the original N64 version that was borrowed from a friend, also with a cartridge too, and it was the most fun thing I've ever had in a while. During this time too, that this friend would also show me other cool ass games like Super Mario 64. That was the first time I've ever known what that game was, and it was kind of crazy because I didn't really have any internet access at the time, so to blindly play that game before knowing it was one of the greatest N64 games of all time on its original hardware was one of the coolest things I got to endure as a kid. Even though the town was small and I had a lot of small town drama, I will say it did teach me one thing in life, is that to appreciate the small things. Country life was definitely unique, and I don't really want to go back to that type of life, but I'm kind of glad I got to experience it, to kind of see a different side of what the United States or the world is. I do honestly believe that I was accepted a lot in that small town because since I was in kindergarten there when I did start there, because I do remember spending half of my kindergarten years in Kansas City. It was a big fucking change, and it did suck the most when I did have to move, but such as life. But I will say, I did get to catch up with some of my friends on Facebook on it back in the day when I was like 13, around 2011, and I thought it was really cool that on Facebook that you could keep and connect with all your old friends if you wanted to. Nowadays, we're all grown up, and I kind of do wonder I wonder what those type of friends are up to. Like, obviously, they're not really close friends anymore, but it's really interesting to see that some of these people I did grow up in that small town kind of have their lives ventured out in many unique ways. Now, most of them are married, which is fair because it is a small town, and those towns are usually known for getting married extremely young as like up to 18 to 20 years old. Personally, for me, I think that's very young, but hey, if they know what they want in their life and that's what makes them happy, then so be it. I also do remember as a kid, too, thinking that life was so far away from, this small town to the city I live in now. But looking back, even though I was a kid, it's only just an hour and a half drive from where I'm at, which is kind of crazy because I thought it'd be a lot farther. Now, obviously, as I got older, there was a lot of things I didn't realize that was not normal, that was kind of messed up, right? Where we did have an incident where our high school principal would legit spy on people that they didn't like in this small ass town, which is absolutely wild because this town was so small that there was no police involved or nothing. So we had some creepy ass adults like the high school principal just spying on people around fucking town. I didn't believe it at first because I thought, my sisters were making shit up because they were older, but no, it legit happened and it was crazy. The same thing applied with discrimination tactics or just discrimination in general that happened in these small towns. For some odd reason, a lot of these people that grew up in these small towns, they tend to, for some reason, discriminate people that are newcomers, and they don't really tend to give those new people a chance. Especially in a town full of just less than 500 people. It is fucking wild, honestly, to even live in a town that small, but we all did it, and it was actually fun for the most part for most of us. Now, one thing I will say as an adult is that it would kind of suck trying to, drive to a completely different town to get to work just to get a decent living paying job. Because that's what my family did when they were living in this town. And I always did wonder, how the hell they made it work, right? Some people literally had to drive an hour and a half away or even farther sometimes just to get a decent paying job. Yeah, some of them were high school teachers and stuff that were decent paying for that town. But man, most of those local jobs did not pay anything or very little to none, and it was kind of crazy. But when it comes to friends too, like I remember having a lot of friends over in that town where they would all just come to my house and jump on the trampoline, and that was like the greatest thing ever at the time. Because I don't know why, but having a trampoline as a kid during this type of time period where we had no phones and stuff was actually really memorable and fun as hell. I also remember riding dirt bikes with some of my friends too, and during this time. And I also do remember going bike riding, and it was fucking wild because we would go bike riding in the middle of the night in a small ass town, and we were like biking like it was a fucking, like we were cruising around town like we had cars. It was that small, and it made it that much more fun. Now, what's wild to me is that I haven't been in this town in about 17 years now. Since 2008 is when I moved, because obviously a lot of my family members wanted to forget about this place. But sometimes I do get that curiosity thought of like wanting to visit that place sometime again, just to kind of experience like all of my different stages of life, right? I don't know why. I don't know if any of y'all can feel like this or ever have these thoughts, but like you ever get so nostalgic that you could just venture out the places you used to live at in a way. Like, 'cause some people don't venture out far. Like, for me, I didn't venture out too far in the Missouri side. Like, my family moved around quite a bit every couple years, but it is kind of cool to see what different stages of life I've got to experience and kind of embrace what I did like about it and what I didn't. Sometimes I do miss my old childhood friends too, because what's wild is that like some childhood friends end up doing really good or they end up like overtaking drugs sometimes. But I will say, even though it might be nostalgia bias, it might be for the best not to meet these people again, because as human beings, we all tend to grow over time. And we all grew up in different cultures in this small town. Like for me, I moved away to a bigger small town and then moved to the city. And now I'm more like have the city mindset. While these people I did grow up with never really left their town. And some of them did leave, but most of them stayed. And they still have that country lifestyle mindset. And it's not really a bad thing. It's just sometimes we just grow as different people. Now, as we get older too, is that like losing friends is a big important piece that happens to our life sometimes. It's not always a tragic fallout and whatnot. One thing that none of us really talk about in life is sometimes if you just don't talk to a certain person long enough, man, people just tend to move on. Like sometimes they will reach out and say, hey, how you doing? But most of the time there's always that person that we do try to like look at and recognize, but most of us just want to take the mature way and just not really contact them. Because sometimes that small talk can feel very fake as hell. I understand that because I don't like small talk at all, so I'd rather just not talk to them. At least for some people I don't have anything in common with anymore. Sometimes I do this with like coworkers, if I didn't really vibe with the coworkers outside of work enough to like hang out with them. But for the most part, if I really did enjoy hanging out with them, even outside of work at times, if I ever did hang out with a friend at work, I would still definitely be friendly and say hi for the most part. It just depends if we were actually being really good friends at work. It just really depends on the situation. Another thing that we could all relate to in life sometimes that no one also doesn't talk about is that like a lot of us can make friends through a convenient situation, unfortunately. And I've kind of noticed this too. Like sometimes for all of us, like it's kind of convenient for us to like go to school, be able to stay friends that way during the school year and whatnot. But I do notice there's some friends where you're only talking to them because it was only convenient for you. And it doesn't just apply to school. It applies to other places too. And a lot of us don't tend to learn that until we do graduate high school or those students that do drop out of school as well. The only thing I don't like about like childhood friends sometimes is this doesn't happen too often, but it has happened to me where sometimes you'll have a friend from childhood that will reach out to you, but not to really actually talk to you. Some of them will actually try to ask for a fucking favor, which is kind of wild and kind of bizarre to me because I've definitely had friends where someone reached out to me to pay their fucking water bill. Like, I'm not even kidding, man. I'm like, I get it, he has a family, but it's like, bro, I haven't talked to y'all in 10 years, and you didn't even try to catch up with me. You just immediately went for, like, a favor. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I do find it a little shitty, and I don't really like that. It's actually very, like, fucked up if you really think about it. It's like, hey, yeah, we used to be friends. Can you do this for me? Like that's the vibe I kind of get when people like that do that type of crap. Sometimes I do wonder in life, like, having a childhood where people, you know, just grew up in the same town the whole time, their whole lives. Like, it's not a bad thing if you really do love your community, and you do want to leave as well at some point. But apparently when a lot of people do that, just there's a lot of people that just don't tend to leave their town and they get too comfortable in their comfort zone. I do find it a little crazy and sad because I do like to try new things, but I do understand why some people want to stay too, because if you are genuinely accepted in a nice community, and you know it's a nice diehard community, I understand why people would not want to leave that. I get it. But I do really believe that learning new things is very important, or experiencing new things as much as possible. So I'm honestly kind of glad that I was able to get out of those towns and whatnot and get out of those other places I lived at just to see what life has to offer outside of just one state or just one little fucking city, you know? And I'm kind of glad I kind of went back to my hometown in Kansas City at one point, because some people it's not a good move for them, but for me it kind of was, and it definitely feels like home. It's also a nice feeling too, because if you do ever do want to go back to your hometown or just your home city area, that you can actually now be afraid to really travel, move around, and actually see new things. I am definitely very optimistic about what other areas are like now too, and it's really neat. Like there's some other areas I definitely would not want to mind moving to at some point in my life if I ever get to that point. But I'm honestly okay with living here right now because it's one of the cheaper areas in the United States still. And I don't know if things will ever get better, but I am improving my money situation a lot. I just have to keep working all this overtime throughout the whole peak season. I think things will be okay. Now, a lot of people do like high school reunions, but I kind of prefer like a reunion where you kind of grew up in a town or you're in a certain time period together, just to kind of see what y'all been up to and what life is like now. Y'all may not be close anymore, but it is kind of interesting to think about. It'd be more interesting and better than like high school fucking reunions. But whatever happened in my life with all the people that I met, even the ones that really don't want to talk to me anymore, I really do hope that everyone does pretty well. And the last thing I do want to say is that, like, if you do live in a small town but you don't like your town, man, I will say is it's best to leave, bro. Don't ever be one of those people that live in their small town, hate it, and they just complain and don't leave. Once you make that leap, man, it shows you the most character growth that you could ever have. I definitely know that if I never left Kansas City the first time at all, without, growing up in this whole city my whole life, I definitely would not have as much growth as much as I do now. Because living in another state like Florida too was also a really cool opportunity. Even though my situation there wasn't the greatest, it definitely helped me grow a lot as a person. It's a whole new world out here, and I think everyone has that opportunity, or should have the opportunity, to embrace it. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching and listening to me ramble. Life is definitely a journey for a lot of people, especially mine, and fuck, everyone's life is also unique too, and I think we could all have different experiences and learn from everything that we talk about. Now, not all my childhood friends like stop talking to me. Like, there's a very small few I do talk to, but most of them are just from high school, and I only have that one friend from my elementary school days that's still solid as hell. He's great. I still talk to, and I recently just talked to him not too long ago for getting off work, because he works in the morning, and I was messaging him in the morning, bugging him, and it was funny as fuck. But yeah, I still miss him. I need to hang out with him again soon. Anyways, you guys have a good one. I hope life is great for you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.